Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with Nic Viulet.
The gym setting, at least for jiu-jitsu, can be pretty intimidating, I would say. Honestly, if you're willing to learn, I noticed a lot of the more experienced guys there, they'll teach you. They'll beat your ass in the process, but you'll definitely come out of it with some good knowledge. So I was actually born in Toronto, grew up in Michigan. So
how is it there? Anytime that Detroit pops up in the news, it's always something to do with violent crime. Maybe this is just me reading headlines and not actually knowing what's going on. Is it actually as bad as people think it is?
Midwest, where I grew up, I would say people are a lot more direct. I don't want to say there's a snake culture here, but you don't really know people until kind of got to spend some time with people, see what their true colors are. But my ultimate goal has always kind of been to get into med school, figure out what I do in the future. But behavioral psychology is also something that's pretty interesting to me. So I didn't want it to go directly into psychology, because I also thought learning about the mechanisms of the brain, and then beyond the brain, learn about the greater nervous system, peripheral nervous system, all that stuff. I won't geek out too hard, but one of my friends back home was I want you to do this nursing assistant program with me. Definitely an experience that sparked compassion for people, and just seeing people smile and having that feeling of warmth when you've really taken care of someone, made someone's day, helped them with something that they're in a place where they can't help themselves that. It's really powerful for me. So
one of the most precious and valuable things that a person can have is their youth and the time they have left on this earth. I think that's extremely connected to the idea of respecting your elders, because A, they have more experience than you, but B, they also have less time than you.
I don't even like the term nootropics, first of all. Let me start there. I think it's pretty false to say take this multivitamin or whatever it is, whatever compounds you have in there, and you're going to be smarter, you're going to be better, you're going to outclass all your peers in everything you do.
Yeah.
I think that's just it's bullshit, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, Voices of Vic. Today I am here with Nic Viulet, roommate of Miracon. I just figured that out. I had no idea.
Yeah.
You're keeping that secret from me.
Yeah. It's good to be here. Just I don't know, finally nice outside. Saw the podcast with Mir, and I was just super interested, and I was might as well see what we talk about, see what questions Carter's got for me. So here I am.
Do you guys do any training together? Because I know he's big into boxing. Do you get up to any of that, or kind of stick to the books?
Definitely more stick to the books. I work out. I guess that's my main thing. But in terms of sports, soccer, basketball, track, swimming, it's my thing. But he's taking me to a few boxing classes, a few jiu-jitsu classes.
Yeah.
I remember we did one last year at this gym by our house, and I just have a vivid memory of just getting my ass beat for an hour.
Yeah.
These guys just doing all these chokes, whatever, on me, and I was trying to figure it out, trying to learn the one leg takedown, the simple stuff, but it's a lot harder than it looks on TV. That's for sure.
It humbled you a little bit. Definitely
super humble for sure.
Yeah. Because a lot of guys think that they can get in there and mix it up if they really get angry. That's what the meme is. You know what I mean? Just oh yeah, if you get me mad enough, if you do something that disrespects me, then I'll react. But when it comes to technical skill, if you don't have it, you don't have it.
Yeah, there's I would say in the gym setting, at least for jiu-jitsu, can be pretty intimidating, I would say. But honestly, if you're willing to learn, I noticed a lot of the more experienced guys there, they'll teach you. I mean, they'll beat your ass in the process, but you'll definitely come out of it with some good knowledge. So I mean, it's pretty interesting. And I would say Mir's also the reason I kind of started watching MMA as well, and UFC definitely got me into that, and that's kind of been a tradition at our house. It's watching all those fights. That's been super cool. But
UFC's become, I think, the coolest sports league in the world.
Yeah.
Just especially recently, the way that the media is covered, the way that Dana White is kind of running everything. I think that a lot of people love just his philosophy on how athletes should be treated. And obviously, I guess if you want to really get deep into it with the pay, and people say he doesn't pay the low-level fighters enough, that I don't really pay too much attention to that. But I just mean in terms of the type of stuff you hear these athletes say on the mic, you would not be able to get away with that in the NBA or the NHL or any other league, because, they got certain rules and regulations in place, but Dana White doesn't care.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, it's interesting just because how he builds people up, and Dana knows who's going to be a character. Yeah. He knows who's going to make me the most money, and that's really what drives the UFC. At all the big moments is just the guys talking shit to each other, and then like rarely do you ever see a champion who's like, I guess like super like humble and a very like quiet guy. But I mean, you have those guys maybe sometimes like where they're just super technically good and they let the fight speak for itself. But yeah, definitely builds off character UFC. It's a great time.
What do you think about the difference between those two? If you had to say, like, your approach, do you think that a champion should be brash and kind of in your face, or do you think that you should be humble? That goes for a lot in life, I would say. Obviously, if you're a brash loser, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
you can't be screaming in people's face if you're nothing special. But if you're Conor McGregor, or if you're some of these guys, Sean Strickland's got a big mouth, then you get away with it more. Or do you think that no matter what, you should always kind of
I mean, I'll speak
step back?
like for myself, like growing up when I was playing sports, I was never really a guy that talked a lot of shit. Like I was just like I stuck to my own work, like just tried to get better. But I think UFC and like fighting's like a unique case where like you kind of need to have that big personality, or else you'll get like swallowed up.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna be like, I guess like the champion that people want you to be, because a lot of fighting is like building the hype for yourself, and like if you're a humble guy, it's just like you sit there, like the fights are good, whatever, but it's like, why do people really want to like care about you or like watch you? You know, you're trying to get people invested. But I think there's definitely like a place for it in every sport. Like anyone that's grown up playing competitive sports, you know that like when you get fired up, like you talk shit. Like even in like this is a different example, but like, even intramurals at U of T, like it's really not that deep, but like when people are playing like a sport that they really like, or they grew up playing, then like it's bound to happen, right? You're bound to like say something, or like if you mess someone up, like you're gonna talk shit to them, you're gonna be like in their ear the whole game, right? But yeah, I definitely overall I would say I'm more like personally I like the like humble champion, but I definitely see the place for like the big personalities.
I think another part of it is that they only have such little time in the spotlight, most of these fighters. Like, not everyone's going to be a Conor McGregor. Not everyone's going to be able to win as much as some of these guys do. If you're only going to be up there for one title fight in your entire career, you have to kind of take that for what it's worth and like blow up your brand so much to the point where you can retire from the UFC after that and still have a bit of a following and a bit of people kind of wanting to listen to you and interested in your fights, even if it's not a title fight, because you've made a character of yourself. I think that Sean Strickland is a good example of that, because I don't know, once again, I'm not too like channeled into what he's doing or what the UFC is doing, but I just see so much of his media stuff. When he was fighting in Toronto, there was a bunch of clips about him talking shit to Trudeau. And the reason, like, that's why his name sticks out more to me than a lot of the other fighters, is because, once again, he went and he just rambled and he talked shit and it blew up. And if he's going to, I don't know if he's going to win another fight again, but I know his name now for a while. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're from Detroit.
Yeah.
You born there?
Well, I guess like I'll clarify, like I'm not from like I guess like downtown Detroit, but like
I was gonna ask you,
as close as you'll be is like, I don't know, it's like maybe I live like 40 minutes outside downtown, but like obviously I grew up in Southeast Michigan, and it's interesting. I was born in Toronto.
Okay.
And I just grew up in Michigan, so just back here for university, I guess. And 'cause I don't even want to talk about college prices and tuition in the States. It's crazy, but I mean, it's nice to be back here, and definitely different from where I grew up. But.
Absolutely. How is it there? Because I always, anytime that Detroit pops up in the news, it's always something to do with violent crime. Because I feel like that's now become the brand of Detroit, which is really sad. But I'm going to ask you, maybe this is just, once again, me reading headlines and not actually knowing what's going on. Is it actually as bad as people think it is?
I mean, I'm not.
Once again, not that you lived in those hard areas, but you're closer than probably most of the people watching.
I mean, I've definitely like seen stuff and just like whatever. I'm not going to speak on like super personal experiences, but like overall, I think what's portrayed in the media is a little bit harsh for sure, but definitely, like for example, my parents, when they like first moved to the city, it was for their jobs, and they worked like kind of closer to downtown, especially my mom, and like she would say like she saw stuff, and like even in downtown core, like it was pretty scary, like early like 2000s, I would say, like 2010s. But now I would say like really Detroit is on like the up and up in terms of just being better as a city, like kind of recovering from that economic downturn, because like kind of the demise of the auto industry is really what caused the whole failure in the city, along with like a lot of other like corruption, a lot of other bullshit going on. But now they've brought like all our sports teams to Little Caesars Arena, which is in the downtown core.
Yep.
So you've got the Pistons, you got the Red Wings, the Lions have always been there, Ford Field, you got the Tigers, and you know, very success with those teams. But yeah, it's definitely better. And I think, you know, I love the city. I love where I grew up. Like I can't hit on it. Like I always have like so much, you know, passion in my heart about where I grew up. Like it's really home. Like, and I feel it when I go back, and it's a unique place.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And yeah, I mean, there's also a lot to do as well. Like I feel like people shit on it, and like I get it, because like the media portrays it as like, oh, like violent crime, whatever, blah blah blah. But like there's so much character to the city, and there's so much to do. Like Detroit Art Museum, for example, DIA is like I'll stand by this. I think it's the nicest like art museum in the States. Like New York, California, like they don't have anything on us, right? So I think people just need to experience like the good stuff there, and just like so you know how to navigate it, and just like not be scared. Like obviously that comes with every city like that you'll go to. Like you need to know like where you're at, and just like don't be like an oblivious tourist, right? But yeah, nothing but love for where I grew up. So.
That's good. The Red Wings are in a playoff race right now. So I watch hockey, and they're battling it out with a few teams. Pittsburgh, Washington, Philadelphia is another one, but we'll see if they get in. It's close. I don't know. I'm interested in just seeing how that turns out. But yeah, no, that's good. My cousin goes to university in Virginia, so she's Canadian, like she's from where I'm from, but she went to school in the States. You're kind of the opposite. You are born in Toronto, but you grew up in the States, and then you're coming here. What is the cultural difference that you can make of the U.S. versus Canada? Because I asked her the same thing, but she was growing up as a Canadian, giving me all the differences with the States. Now I'm wondering if you could give me some differences. Like when you come here, what do you notice that feels different? Maybe not completely different, but just that has a different feel.
Yeah, there's definitely a few differences, but I would also say that in the States, like it's so big that really, depending on where you go, like you're gonna get like just different vibes from all sorts of different communities. And like for example, if you're like in the big cities like New York, you're in LA, like I think it's gonna be more similar for people that grew up in Toronto, let's say. I kind of think like the city mentality is like more or less the same wherever you go. But for example, like Midwest, where I grew up, I would say people are a lot more like just like direct, or like Michigan, like a Detroit thing is just like people just, they'll tell you straight up what they think about you. And there's just kind of that directness that I think is missing in Canada, which I like, because I like personally I'd want people to tell me like, you know, I either like you, I don't like you. Like I want to know where we stand on things. I noticed like, I don't want to say there's like a snake culture here, but it's definitely like you don't really know people until like you kind of got to spend some time with people, like see what their true colors are. But in terms of like, I guess like social interactions, that's like the one like big thing. Really, it's not that as different as people say. Like there are some like accent things that you'll pick up on. Like in my first week here, everyone was like, "Oh, you don't sound like you're from here." Like, and I was like, "Like you sure?" Like whatever. And then vice versa, when I go home, when I see my friends in Michigan, they're like, "Dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? Like, why do you sound like that?" Like, what's going on, and I don't know. Obviously I don't hear it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to see how people kind of react, and yeah, I would say it's not like there's a lot of differences between like the States and Canada. It's like it's more or less the same. Like especially being on a college campus, like I feel like it's whatever. But I guess one thing I do have to say also is in terms of the U.S., I don't know if your cousin experienced this, but United States schools have way more like school spirit.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I knew that even without going there.
Yeah.
You see all the videos of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't even know the Varsity Blues logo until I got here. I feel like in the States, if you're going to a school, you know the sport team of the school. That's like a big part of university. I had no idea. It's a T and a leaf.
Yeah.
No clue, right? I just showed up. I was like, what's that? I thought that was like a subdivision of U of T, maybe like another college.
Yeah.
No, it's a sports team. So that's really disappointing. I don't know why that is.
I think it feeds in from high school, I think, because like high schools in the States, like with the sports, even like I grew up playing, there's so much more like hype around sports, especially football is a big one.
Yeah.
Like football it's really like unmatched in terms of like the hype that you get, especially if you go to like, I went to like a decently big like public high school, so it was that was like a thing. That's like what people really bond over is like you go to football games Friday nights, like it really is something nice and like builds school spirit. Like obviously there's a lot of like I guess like funny things that go on at games, and like sometimes you'll just get like blown out and it really ruins the mood, but I think that feeds into like why everyone kind of has like that sense of unity in university or college, and I think that's really nice. Maybe something that Canada's missing. Like
that's a good point.
So.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I wonder. I want to try to figure out why that is, because I've said this and I've talked to people about this before, but I don't really know the reason. Like, because you're saying that the reason college sports are so big, you're saying it's kind of like top down, like bottom up is because high school is so big, then that makes the next step into college like basically the next best thing to the NFL. But I wonder if it's mainly maybe starting from the top. Is college so huge? Like, where is the main point of pride for Americans? Is it the college or university they go to? Is it the town they come from? Is it the high school? Like, where does this spirit of playing for a team come from?
I would say it really depends like how you grew up, but I know a lot of like people that I went to school with, like let's say if your parents went to school in the United States, like mine didn't, so like I don't share this experience, but
fair. Where'd your parents go to school?
So my parents are first generation immigrants from Romania, so
there you go.
But
chilling with Andrew Tate.
Guess so. And just growing up, like let's say your parents are going to support team. Like in Michigan, it's two big teams are obviously Michigan State and U of M or UMich, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And like really, whatever your parents supported, that was like, all right, I support this school. Like you hop on the bandwagon. Like maybe you'll change, but most people like just support whatever their parents support, and like you just kind of build up around that school. Like you watch all their like football, basketball. I think football and basketball are really like the main ones for the States, but I guess like there is a sense of pride in like the university from like a top down perspective, but then it's also bottom up in the sense that I think sports culture in general is way bigger in the States. Like people really like from birth, like you grow up playing like whatever sport, like really all my friends that I knew growing up played a sport or at least tried to like do something with sports. And maybe at some point you realize like, oh, I'm not going to go pro, but like it's always something to bond over no matter like what point you're at in your life. Like a lot of people, I'll probably be watching games with them at bars or like someone's house when I'm like 40 years old. You know, it's always hype. Like even with the recent like March Madness tournament, like there's so much hype around that, and I think it's so cool to watch. And there's always some sort of like stories coming out of it. So that's really, I think it's just both like bottom up and top down though. I don't think it's just like in general sports is bigger in the States, and like maybe that's because it's more commercialized, but it's just in general there's there's
That's
more
fair.
there. Yeah.
That's fair. I think that because Americans say that Canada has no sports culture, but I think that the main issue is that they're comparing side by side their top sports with basically the Canadian versions of them. So they'll be like, the NFL is way better than whatever they have in Canada. Their league has 7 teams, and then they'll compare baseball, and there's no baseball presence in Canada, all this stuff. But I think it's because that Canada's sport is hockey, and the U.S. in large part, I don't think cares as much about hockey. So they're not comparing that culture. I think that it's best to face off one-on-one. But even then, you could say that I think this is more just an economics problem than it is a sports culture problem. There are more American hockey teams than Canadian hockey teams. There's only 7 in Canada. There's, what is there? Let's do that math. 25 in the States. So, but even still, I think that football culture in the U.S., if you side by side that with hockey culture in Canada, controlling for the fact that the U.S. has a population that's 10 times the size, I think that'd be a fair, equal comparison to make, because the rinks and the barns here when a hockey game's going on and you got moms fighting in the stands when their sons are beating each other up on the ice, it's a completely different culture for that. But no, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I would definitely. I think Michigan's kind of a unique case because we have the Red Wings. So, like for me, comparing like Maple Leafs and Red Wings, I have been to a few Maple Leafs game, one like more recently, and I was honestly pretty disappointed with the crowd, but I don't think that shows like how strong the hockey culture is
at Scotiabank Arena.
At Scotiabank, yeah. I don't think that shows like realistically how strong the hockey culture is here, because one thing is I think the prices for tickets are so crazy that like the average person that is really like a true hockey fan, they're not really going to Scotiabank Arena. I actually, when I was sitting there, I met these guys from Windsor that were Leafs fans. It was my family and Leafs fans that were from Windsor, and they were telling us like, we usually just go to the Red Wings games because it's way cheaper and it's like right there for them. So I think that's like a big thing, but like undoubtedly the hockey culture here is crazy. Like obviously it's like you see all the like star players that are like in the league, and just you can't doubt it. But
they had a perfect example of that the other day. Austin Matthews for the Leafs scored his 60th goal. It was in Buffalo. So when the Leafs play in Buffalo, it's actually cheaper for the Toronto fans to drive into Buffalo, buy a ticket there, spend money on a hotel, and drive back the next day than it is to go into Scotiabank Arena. And it was a party in that arena. They sold out all the Buffalo fans. When Buffalo would score, the arena would be silent in Buffalo, but when the Leafs would score, like Matthews got his 60th goal and there was guys with 60, like the number 60 in balloons. It was the biggest, loudest crowd I've ever heard for a Leafs game. And in a way, rink it was. I'm even comparing to Scotiabank Arena. They say Scotiabank Arena is a library because, as you said, you're completely right. The prices, they jack the prices way up, and it's a bunch of corporate executives going in there, and nobody actually cares that much about the Leafs.
Yeah, I think like it really like kind of takes the soul out of hockey, because I do have memories like when I was younger of going to Wings games at the old stadium at Joe Louis Arena, and it was honestly like some of the best like memories that I have. Like I don't remember it super well because I was like pretty young at the time, but I remember like kind of at the end of like the Datsuk, like Zetterberg, like all those older players era, I went with my dad to a playoff game. It was generally like one of the best like crowds that I've ever experienced, and I imagine like when you get all like the true like Leafs fans that are like ride or die in like that stadium, like when they went to Buffalo, like you're saying, I'm sure it's something similar. I'm sure it's like really like electrifying. Like when you're in a crowd like that, I think that's one of the best like experiences that you can have if you're a fan of like really any sport. Yeah. Just when you're with your community and it's just like it's rocking in there. It's
absolutely
nice,
absolutely agree. I wonder what the solution would be though, because if I own the Leafs and I'm selling every single ticket at these high prices, I wouldn't drop the price. That's the problem. Maybe like the only thing I could think of is if you really want to like push that culture of we have the best fan base, is that like the upper bowl tickets, even the third bowl where you're at the very top, the players are this small. They're like $90, $100 each.
Yeah.
And if you go and
lucky.
watch a really good opponent too, like if you're watching Detroit against Toronto,
Yeah.
Detroit's original 6, so those are going to be even more expensive.
Yeah.
It's a complete mess.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like for the original 6 game, because we went to when I went with my family here at Scotiabank, it was Detroit versus the Leafs, and I think tickets were somewhere around like 200, something like that. And I wasn't like, we weren't sitting like right at the front, obviously, because that's crazy. That's like you're getting in like the thousands there.
Yeah,
that's like that's not happening for any like normal person, right? So it's I don't know what to say.
That's crazy.
Tickets won't drop, but
we'll circle out of that. Yeah, it is a mess. Maybe one day we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I wanted to talk to you more about neuroscience. You're a neuroscience student.
Yes, I am.
Real quick, I'm not going to have to ask you too long about this. It's kind of a boring question, but why neuroscience? Why are you interested in studying the brain?
So
is that an accurate description of neuroscience?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
For sure. I would say most people that are in neuro are definitely interested in the brain. And like for me, I think it comes from like personal experience. Like coming out of high school, I really didn't know what I was going to study. My like ultimate goal has always kind of been to like get into med school. We'll figure out what I do in the future. But just like through my first year, I was kind of just like thinking about like what do I want to go into, and like what do I really like find interesting. And then I don't know, I just wanted to thought it was interesting. Like I guess like behavioral psychology is also something that's pretty interesting to me. So I didn't want it to go directly into like psychology, because I also thought learning about like the mechanisms of the brain, and then also beyond the brain, like you learn about like the greater nervous system, like peripheral nervous system, all that stuff. I won't geek out like too hard, but over the summer of between my first and my second year at U of T, went back to Michigan, and one of my friends back home was like, I want you to do this nursing assistant program with me. And that's essentially like you're just helping out like nurses in like long-term care homes, like working with like elderly residents with like dementia, Alzheimer's, like et cetera, like motor deficiencies. And that kind of just like exposure to that and like getting that license also kind of drove me to want to learn more about like neurodevelopment, neurodegenerative diseases, and just like the field as a whole. Because I don't know, I like working with patients. Like there's like a lot of unsavory stuff in working in long-term care homes. Like it kind of exposes the bad parts about healthcare in the States, and like a lot of places are understaffed. A lot of nurses like can't be bothered to take care of their residents, and there's some downsides to it. But just like working with people, like for example, I got really interested in like schizophrenia, for example, and Parkinson's as well. Just like definitely like big disorders. Like a lot of people have these interests, but that's what really drove me. And then like
were you treating patients with those disorders?
I wasn't like treating, like, because obviously I wasn't like qualified to do that.
Not as a doctor, but just kind of like
but just
dealing with them.
Like working with them, like daily living activities, I would say, just like helping them eat, like helping them like get around like nursing homes, like showering, just like basic stuff like that. Because a lot of these people, like either their family doesn't want to deal with them, or just like their family's not qualified to deal with them. They're not in a place where like they can be taken care of adequately. And
that's sad to see.
It's just, yeah, it definitely is. And like even in nursing homes, like I remember my first like shadowing shift when I was because how the CNA process works, so CNA is certified nursing assistant, I should say. And how the process works is kind of like at the end of it, you do like shadowing in a nursing home, so you get like those clinical hours before you get your license.
Yeah. And
then after you get your license, like you can work whatever. But when my first shift shadowing, they were short on nurses, I remember, and there was actually like a contract nurse. So how it works is like there's long-term staff that are like hired at a specific place, and those just normal staff, I'd say. And then there's also like contract workers where like nurses or CNAs can come in. Usually they get paid more if they're on contract, but like it's like a temporary worker, right? And there's a contract worker it was her first day, and it was me and like 2 other students, and she was trying to like just like her best to really help us out, but you could tell like how severely understaffed it was, because we were working with patients, and like the nurses either like didn't want to help, or like they're just kind of like, oh, here you go, do it. So I was taking like patient vitals and like trying my best to like do things like I forget what it's called, but there's a procedure where colostomy, maybe something like that, something where you have like this something like incontinence where like you can't control bowels, things like that, and you have to get a bag. I think it's colostomy. You have to get a bag like basically like stitched onto where your like intestinal tract would end, and like I don't have to get into like what comes out of the intestinal tract, right? But like I had to clean that bag and like just like doing all sorts of stuff like that. Like if you're not built to like see like gross things, then like it's not the job for you.
Yeah.
And it was definitely an experience that like sparked I guess like compassion for people, and just like really, I don't know, everyone says like, oh, I care about people, I want to help people, that's why I want to be a doctor, but it like really like seeing people smile and like just like having that feeling of warmth when you've really like taken care of someone, made someone's day, like helped them with something that they're in a place where they can't help themselves, like that, like it's really powerful for me. So that's good. That was my reasoning, I guess. But
why do you think that the nurses have the struggles they do? Why are they understaffed? Why? I know that around the country and even around the world, there's been a lot of protests in terms of the nurses not getting pay they feel they deserve. Like, what do you think the reason behind all that is?
Yeah, I would definitely say like, because it's a lot to deal with. I would say first of all, like one nurse, depending on the nursing home, will deal with like 10 plus patients, and like, I mean, it's a lot, because the hours are also pretty crazy. That's one thing. So it's like highly stressful. And then maybe the pay isn't like, I don't know what exact salaries are, so I'm not going to speak too much on this, but maybe it's not as like satisfactory where it kind of meets the demands and the stress of the job. Like maybe it just like doesn't feel worth it.
Yeah.
Then I also think like working in nursing homes in particular is like particularly like strenuous versus a hospital, because I guess like just in general, like people don't really want to be in nursing homes. Like I guess they don't see it as like valuable. Like most people like, oh, they like want to be in the hospital, like working maybe closer. There's still doctors in nursing homes, but maybe like, oh, I don't know, maybe there's more like prestige. Maybe it's an ego thing as well. Like I want to be in a hospital. I want to like do these things. But I don't know. Overall, like I can't speak too much on it, because like I'm not in that position. But my guess would just be that it comes from like the stress of the job, and then the nature of like I don't want to do these things. Like a lot of the time when you're a nurse assistant, like I was, they'll give you jobs that are just like what they don't want to do, like cleaning patients up, or just like the simple things of like showering patients, and it's just like I think like the job just starts to like wear you down over time, especially like a lot of these nurses were working like, I don't know, like 16 hours in a day. Like it was literally like work, sleep, same thing. That's over crazy. And over again, and like it really does get tiring, especially working with like dementia patients or like schizophrenia. Like you really have to have a lot of compassion and just kind of be adverse to not getting burnt out. Like there's a huge problem with like compassion fatigue in healthcare, and that gets into a whole different discussion. But that's fair.
Yeah. And I think that it's really good that you got the experience to kind of, I think anyone who gets experience dealing with people who are far less fortunate than them is a incredibly valuable thing to have. And you had it through two lenses, I guess, through the patients that you're dealing with, but also with the nurses who are going through so much shit. So next time you're stressed about a test, I don't know, I think that you are less stressed after having seen everything that they've had to deal with than you would be if you hadn't gone there.
Yeah, it definitely made me like I'll say less attached to outcomes and just kind of have a broader view of just like what is really important for my life. Like, say first year I was stressing out way more about grades. That was also because I was in an adjustment period, and now I think I've found, like, even if I get like an unsatisfactory grade or just like something that like rubs me the wrong way about whatever on an assignment, I think like I look at it more through the lens of improvement.
Yeah.
Now instead of just like scrutiny and just being like, oh, my life's so hard, blah blah blah. Like, it's more like, all right, this happened. Like, where do I go from here? You know, and definitely grateful for that. And yeah, it is what it is. I'm happy about that.
That's good. Yeah. And yeah, so like for me, my first real job. Okay, I had 2 jobs. Even both of my jobs really gave me a good perspective on this. The first job I ever had, I was 16. I was working at Burger King. Right before COVID, I was working at Burger King. And I wasn't there for too long. I was there for 6 months. And I saw just that, like, when you see someone who's 40 years older than you flipping the burgers and making the fries, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I don't. It's just you get a better perspective on the types of lives people lead, and not trying to sound like an asshole, but you want to avoid getting to that point yourself. Like, it's not the same case with you in terms of the nurses, because that's a respectable job and that's something that a lot of people work very hard for. But I just mean in the sense that despite how they might have gotten there, these are people who are living harder existences than I am. No matter how stressful U of T might be, no matter how hard being a student is, which we can get into that. I don't think it's that bad, really. It's a good perspective to have. And the job I had after Burger King was I worked at a lumber yard. So I deal with a lot of construction guys. Yeah. And even them, they have bigger issues than I've ever had to deal with in my life. So I think perspective is the main thing. I think a lot of people don't have enough perspective. They haven't dealt with people who are struggling far worse than they are. And I think if people expose themselves to that more, not over Instagram or TikTok or any of this dumb shit, but actually talked to these people, built a relationship with them like you did, I think that's very crucial to have people be a little more grateful and stop whining so much.
Yeah, I would say that's like, first of all, that's like an experience that I share. Like, my first job, like, I really wanted to work growing up. Like, as soon as I got my license, I was like, all right. My parents were like, why do you want to work so bad? And I'm like, I just want to like have my own money. Like, it is what it is. But I started out working at Chipotle. Yeah. And that was like an experience in itself. Not something I would do again. Yeah. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I was on grill.
Fast food's terrible.
I was on grill and just like, but really having those experiences where like you're working in customer service, like whether it's retail or fast food or whatever it may be. I think it's just useful to have like one of those jobs where you're working with just like random customers coming in, and it's just like kind of like teaches you how to deal with different situations, and it also gives you that perspective, like like how can I plan for the future? Because without like shitting on my like older peers that were at Chipotle, like I don't know what happened in their lives. Like, I don't know people's stories. Like, so I can't be the judge of them, right? But just like even those experiences and like just like talking to coworkers, like finding out, like trying to really like learn from everybody too, because that's one thing I noticed. Like, no matter like if someone was like older than me and like maybe in the same position, like people always like have something to teach you, right? So
I completely agree.
Yeah, no matter what job you're working is, I would say like one thing is try to learn, and then like also those jobs, they like starter jobs, they kind of keep you humble, and they also make you, I think, value what you have going for you, and then like going forward, like when you get something, or like no matter how small it is, like, oh, I did good here, like whatever, it makes you kind of appreciate, and it gives you like that sense of like, oh, like this is valuable, like this is like good, and makes you want to keep pushing forward. And I think if I can critique U of T and like the culture here in any way, I think that's a big thing. There's like a lack of lack of humility, a lot of like sense of entitlement, I would say, here at the university. And like I understand that some of that comes from a sense of like people really do want big things, and like there's a lot of people that, you know, dream big, whatever, and that's fine. But I think you need to be grounded, and just like that's also my moral outlook on it. Not saying everyone needs to share this, but yeah, you need to be grounded, I think, and just like be a bit more like appreciative of the fact that we're all here in the first place. We get access to like all these beautiful things. Like I was walking around campus, it's actually nice today, and I was looking like, you know, not everybody gets to experience this. So yeah, just really just be humble, I guess. Yeah. Takeaway, but sorry, I got sidetracked, but
no, that's good. That's good. Yeah. There's it's not really an expression, but the saying respect your elders, I like to view it in a different way. And I think that one of the most precious and valuable things that a person can have is their youth and the time they have left on this earth. I think that's extremely connected to the idea of respecting your elders, because A, they have more experience than you, but B, they also have less time than you. So even the people that I interact with, because like you said, yes, dream big, but show humility, all this stuff. I have huge dreams. I have huge aspirations for what I want to do and what I want to become in life. But there comes a point where no matter who you're dealing with, those dreams can't trump the struggle of another person, especially that of a person who's been here longer than you, right? Like I mentioned about the 60-year-old at Burger King. I don't know what he had to live through to get to that point. But for me to sit here, I haven't dealt with anything that has really destroyed my life that badly. Like I never got hooked onto drugs. I was never a victim of a violent crime. Like none of this stuff. I grew up in a pretty safe town. There's all this types of things that people take for granted and don't consider when someone is far underperforming, far less successful than them. And I think that's a huge part with U of T, is that it's not even success that these people are entitled with. It's not even them flashing how successful they are. It's the potential for their success that they're flashing. This is what I think is extremely embarrassing, is that getting into U of T, I don't consider a successful achievement. It's the potential. When you get into U of T, people say, okay, this guy has high potential because he got into a really good school. He got into the best school in the country. Who knows what he could become? But that doesn't mean you've done anything yet. I consider the guy who's a manager at McDonald's more successful than a U of T student, because the U of T student hasn't done anything yet. You can graduate from U of T and become exactly nothing. Yeah. Not to sound like an asshole, but I mean just in the career world, right? Because I think that's a really dangerous thing when people flex their potential.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I guess like I'll speak on that in like medicine or healthcare. I think that's maybe like a pretty like big problem. There's a lot of like just like fakeness like surrounding the whole in general like life sci. I would say at U of T is like pretty like, I don't know, like I'll speak for myself. Like most of my friends are outside of the sciences. Like I don't know if that's maybe just 'cause like my personality or like my life experiences, whatever my circumstances, but I found like even trying to interact with like different people that are in life sciences, like sometimes it's like a bit like awkward, I guess. Right. Like sometimes I can kind of tell like maybe our like values don't align for the most part, but I don't know. I think just like in general, I just try to go about my life like in a like humble manner, just like do my own thing. But yeah, I think it is like pretty dangerous to just be like, oh, I could do this. That's something that I would say is like a pet peeve of mine, is like when people saying, yeah, I could do this, because yeah, I can tell you I could do a lot of things, right?
I could be an astronaut.
Yeah, but it's like, are you going to do them? Like you can say, I think a better thing to say is like, I'm working towards this thing,
yes,
and here's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like right now to better, like I'm not Mr. Business Guru, Mr. fucking know-it-all or whatever. You know, I'm not claiming to be that, but I think just having kind of this realistic sense of like what can I achieve, like, you know, here's my big goal, and like what are the little steps I can take towards it, rather than kind of being just like in your face with like, oh, like I'm gonna do this, like, oh my god, I'm so good, like whatever, like I just let other people praise you is my big thing, right? So
It's true.
like obviously be confident in yourself, because you do need that at some points, and that's one thing that I would say like that I can improve at, is maybe just being a little bit less humble, because like sometimes you do need that, but then I think it's just like, yeah, a lot of people at this school especially are on the other extreme.
Yep.
Where it's just, I don't want to sound like too much of a hater, but yeah,
that's
my
fair.
thoughts on it.
That's fair. My dad, a key lesson, my dad taught me and my brother a very small number of key lessons when we were young. And I think it's important. He never said this, but I just have thought about it myself. It's important, I think, to keep your key messages and your key values small when you're raising young kids, because they can't remember everything, right? You can't go and read off, you know, the book of philosophical ideas to them. They're not going to take anything in. Very simple, very short, very few, I think, is the key to getting, you know, to instilling values into your children. One of the few things that he told us was to never punch first. Never punch first. Now that doesn't mean never punch. It doesn't say that. Yeah. He doesn't say be passive and meek. He's not saying that. He's saying don't start the fight. If someone comes at you, you swing back, of course, but don't start the fight for no reason. Which is how I see these overly confident people flexing nothing. I think that they're punching first. And I think if someone were to come at me saying I'm not shit, then yeah, I'll come back and say, especially if they're a student. If my dad or my mom or any 40-year-old, really any old person wants to talk shit, I'm going to have to stay quiet, because I respect my elders. I can't. There happened the other day when I'm the captain of the Vic hockey team, and one of our players was injured. And when a guy gets hurt, he was injured on the ice because another player from the other team hit him into the boards, right? So I think he messed up his ankle. So I was going over to the referee. I was like, I need to talk to this guy. What's going to be the punishment? Because we had a player, Yegor, shout out to Yegor, get suspended like the week before, 2 weeks prior, for the same hit. So I'm like, this guy, because we expect to play this team again. I don't want to play this team again if this guy's going to be on the ice and trying to kill our players. Yeah. So I asked him. I was going to go talk to him. This guy would not talk to me. This guy's 40-year-old ref would not talk to me. I'm like, yo, bro. There's a rule in the league is that only the captains can talk to the referees to avoid whatever. I don't even know what they're trying to control for. Yeah. But there's a rule. If you are the captain of the team, you can talk to the referee. This guy would not talk to me. Yeah. Told me to f*** off. And I could have ran my mouth. Yeah. I could have talked a bunch of shit, a bunch of catchphrase insults thrown at his face that would make him feel terrible. Yeah. I didn't do that because... respect your elders. I asked my dad. My brother said this. I don't know if I should say this on air.
Go ahead. Judgment free.
I might cut this out. My brother, it was half sarcastic, but my brother asked my dad, I was like, what if the elder is a criminal? My dad's like, you respect him. I was like, what if he's he said a bunch of other terrible things. But basically, it's not about having respect for the person. It's about showing them respect. I think it's a key difference. Yeah. Like, there's a bunch of people who I've interacted with who I do not respect, but I still show them respect. It's courteous. That's the main thing. I think being courteous to people is what's important. And I think that if you had more of that, you wouldn't have these guys flexing their potential for literally doing nothing. Anyways, we move on to the next topic. I was trying to get back on neuroscience. I was going to ask you this like 20 minutes ago, but we've just been going off. It's fine. Elon Musk recently put the first Neuralink inside of a dude's head. You are a neuroscience guy. I want to know if you have looked into this at all. What do you think about it? What do you think about the coverage? Is the mainstream media, once again, just like Detroit, hyping up things and making people scared, or is it a serious concern?
I mean, it's not, I wouldn't say it's something I'm like super informed on, because I'm not really on like the neurocomputational side of things.
Got it.
I'm more interested in like I would say like neuropsychological, like more like theoretical stuff, like towards like philosophy, cognitive science area.
Got it.
But I guess like I've been hearing about it for a while. Like even when I was coming out of high school, it was Neuralink was like a big thing, like popping up, like, oh, Elon Musk, like what is he gonna do with this? And I think like for like rehabilitation purposes, I'm not sure exactly like how it works, but I'm guessing it's some sort of like deep brain stimulation tool. And I think they're looking to like rehabilitate people with like certain motor deficits, things like that. I mean, I don't have much to say on it other than like I think it's interesting, and like there's definitely potential, but I don't know, like I think it would be crazy to say like, oh, this is gonna like solve so many things, or like people are scared like, oh, the chip's gonna take over my brain, or like, and I'm like, yeah, I guess like if it falls into the wrong hands, I'm sure like something bad could happen, but like I don't think we're at a point like technologically, or like our understanding of neuroanatomy and like just like neurophysiology as well, as like it's not really at that point where like you're gonna control people with a little chip. So I think it takes like a little bit of knowledge of like understanding like the field is not that far advanced, or maybe it is, maybe those researchers know something that I don't, but I think it's too crazy to like be scared of this thing. And just I think it's good to like view it in a positive light, and just like trust the research and the work that's going on, and just see like what can it be used for. But it's definitely something exciting, and like something I'd be happy to learn more about, is like that neurocomputational side of kind of understanding more about like stimulating the brain with, I don't know, technology comes, like AI comes into this discussion too, and all these things. But yeah, it's cool. I mean, Elon Musk, smart guy, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough. I wanna push more on this. I want you to dream with me for a bit.
All
I
right.
want you, because this is all the media does. The media is not smart enough to give a responsible, intelligent, sophisticated answer like you. Usually, the things that get people the most excited or agitated is the best possible outcomes versus the worst possible outcomes. So, I mean, if you took something really small, if I had a piece of bread and I threw it at you, the best thing that could happen is, I don't know, what good could come out of that? Maybe you get some nutrients and you eat the bread. I don't know. The worst thing that could happen is I drop crumbs on your shirt. It's not very consequential.
Yeah.
With this, when people look at the extremes, they pretty much are just asking, what is possible with this technology? What is the range of activities? Because you said something that's pretty neutral, I would say. Because you're saying a sensible thing. A lot of these companies like fear-mongering, and they like saying, oh, it's going to destroy the world, blah, blah, blah. If I had to assess the borders of how high or how low this thing could go, I think that in a few, I don't know how long it's going to be, let's say at least a decade or more, if we really wanted to go full dystopian and say in 25 years from now, if it's a huge thing, because everyone always thinks that the world's going to move faster than it does, I think. If you look at Back to the Future, that movie, they said we were going to have flying cars in 2015. So people were a little bit off on that, a little bit off. But when it comes to this Neuralink, my prediction, if I had to fully go out and say what's the worst possible thing that could happen, I think that you're going to have to get it to be competitive. If you think that, like nowadays, there's a bunch of old business owners who didn't even want to have their company on a website. Like, why do I need a website? Why do I need to be online? My business works good. Like, not very adaptive, right? There's like, my business works the way it is now. I think the same thing is going to happen, where people are going to think, just for money reasons, that if I want to get hired for this company and I'm just a meat brain and I don't have no computer inside my head, I'm not going to be as valuable as the candidate that does. Yeah. I think that's very dangerous, very risky. And my belief is that you're going to have groups of people who would adopt the new technology and fit into the new world, just as the people with the websites and all this stuff and the internet have done today. And then you're going to have a group of people who say there's no way I'm putting this thing inside of my brain, and basically forming communities where they can kind of keep a semblance of a normal life, where they're going to trade with each other, they're going to do business with each other. It's going to be the humans without the chip in this mini economy, because I think most people are going to get it, versus the rest of the world who has the chip, like the Amish. The Amish don't use, as far as I know, I don't know, maybe I'm off base on this. What I know is that they avoid the internet and these technologies. But I think, I could be wrong again, with these Neuralink communities, these anti-Neuralink communities are going to be poor because they're not going to be able to trade and interact with the mass market. So that's my prediction. Poverty or brain chip, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, I guess it's not something I really thought about like that, but I guess it's good that you bring that kind of economics view into it, right? So I guess in general, I think for me personally, I think it's something I definitely adopt at some point. If someone told me all right, do this surgery, especially so context, neurosurgery is something that I'm pretty interested in, one of the fields I'd consider specializing in if I go to med school. So I think that that stuff is super cool to me, but I'm also kind of a weirdo in that way.
Fair enough.
Chip in my brain doesn't really scare me, to be honest with you. If you told me instantly you could have a ChatGPT-esque search tool in your brain, and you just you think you get that answer right away, then yeah, sure, why not? Because that makes you so much more capable if you're able to integrate that into your the neural ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
Sure, why not? I think if you're not willing to do that, I think just maybe it comes down to insecurity, maybe it comes down to the safety of it all, whatever. There's so much to consider, but I would definitely agree with you. If you're not willing to make this change, you're going to fall behind. Evidently, the world is moving quick, right? So whatever technologies, even me, I saw people using AI tools and stuff for assignments, and I'm a guy that I write everything down. I'm pen and paper, that's how I grew up studying.
Yeah.
And I've noticed you need to use these tools to your advantage, when you can. For me, I'll give an example, writing a lab report for example, right? You can't ask AI to do it for you. It's just not going to work. You're not going to write a good report. But summarizing things in terms of kind of building up the data that you need and organizing things, it's honest, it's pretty beautiful. It works, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, I haven't thought about to what extent can it go, but I've heard, I don't know, the Joe Rogans of the world and all these people being it's going to create an integrated community. People are going to communicate telepathically. I've heard all these crazy theories, but I don't know. I'll try to dream big about this stuff. But I don't think it's we're not even at a point where we can maybe even use neurostimulation to control limbs. I think there's we have to take a stepwise approach to this, but it's definitely something to talk about for the future, because who knows, maybe in our kids' lifetimes they'll all just maybe they won't go to school, they'll all just have it on a little brain chip.
Yeah.
And they'll just
completely new step.
But I also saw in terms of perception, people were saying maybe it'll alter how you view the world. You won't have to go to Bali, you'll just have
wow. Yeah.
think of Bali.
That's
right?
Crazy. I didn't even think of that.
So it's thinking about, because a lot of work that I'm interested in deals with perception and consciousness research. So, and also, little plug, my minor is Buddhism, psychology, and mental health. So, and the program might close down, but it's something I'm very, very passionate about, is that program. And understanding states of consciousness is something that I'm super interested in, and organization of the brain. How do we get obviously that's the age old problem, is the mind body problem. How does this meet and give us experiential life, right?
Yeah.
And it's definitely something to think about. Maybe if I have this technology, if I integrate with this somehow, I can you really like you'll dream up your own reality, and just like you could see whatever you want. So, like for a lot of people that might like scare the shit out of them, but for me, I think that's sick.
Yeah,
I think that's super cool. Like imagine you could just instead of dreaming about being like an F1 driver, like you just like be like, all right, take me to Abu Dhabi, put me on the circuit. There you go.
Insane.
And I think it's like something super cool. Like I don't obviously like you can be scared of technology, but like you can be scared of everything. Like anything can be weaponized. Like any sort of new technology, any sort of like guns, for example. Like all right, be scared of guns. Like not that that's like a parallel, but like I think I'm just trying to say like how you perceive things is super important. Like and just like can this thing be utilized for good? Like can we use things in a constructive way, or you're always like kind of buying into the fear mongering of whatever media outlet is like telling you? Like I think that just goes into like your general disposition, like how open are you to new ideas. So
that's the thing.
Cool to think about.
With any innovation, there's an equilibrium. There's a balance between if something gets created that is so incredibly positive in one direction, will have the equal Newton's law, equal and opposite reaction the other way. So if something has a huge potential for good, it also has a huge potential for bad, which is exactly what I think Neuralink is. You're seeing people recover from, or I guess they're saying that people can recover from being paralyzed, from paralysis, and then they can control their limbs again. That's amazing. That's insane. That's an insane development. But then even with the gun thing, the great equalizer, you had, before guns were invented, you had a big, strong man who could attack a girl, and she couldn't do anything about it. Now, with the invention of the gun, everyone's on the same playing field. The 6'5" guy could not come attack the girl anymore because all she has to do is this, and he's dead. That's it. So I'd say that's a positive thing. Obviously, now with all the violence that we see with guns, it's not as good as people, or not that it's not as good. I'm saying that there's the opposite force. Yeah. With everything good comes the same amount of bad.
Yeah, I think it's just like depends obviously like how you look at these different problems. Like I'm not one to really speak on like the gun control topics, especially in the US. I think it's like a very like multifaceted issue. Like I'll stay in my lane. I'll stay in the sciences, right? Yeah. But I mean with everything, like I think it's just more useful for yourself and just for your own state of mind to view the world and all the things in it with wonder. Like have this idea of like, I wonder like what's going to come out of this that's really going to like, how's it going to change the world? I think if you view the world in that way, kind of with this lens of like this positive imagination instead of this constant fear that like something bad is going to happen, you end up living a more fulfilling life, or you should in a way, right? Because if you're scared to go outside, like, oh no, like this car could hit me at any moment, like, oh, someone could come up to me and hit me with a rock in the head and like bye-bye, like I'm done, right? Yeah. But just I don't know, kind of that maybe that comes from a position of privilege too. Like my position as a student at the university, like I can say that because like I can be excited about education. Like I don't really have to worry about a roof over my head right now. Like I'm working, like I have things going for me. But if you're in our position, like as students, I would say like that's one thing that I think, like going back to the discussion of overconfidence, that's one thing that can bring you humility, is like how you view the world, like through this lens of like just being imaginative and kind of seeing the world in a positive light. So
that's good. Yeah. That's good. We had a few more topics I want to ask you about. What can you tell me about nootropics?
Oh, okay.
Do they work? I personally, not being a neuroscientist, not knowing anything about this, I study money and economics, and that's my lane. I want to ask you, because I think it's bullshit. But I'm going to add on to that, but I want you to if I'm wrong, let me know.
Yeah.
So, do they work?
I think in, like, I know, not to, like, gas up Joe Rogan, but, like, I know he has, like, a brand of some sort that, quote unquote, like, I don't even like the term nootropics, first of all. Like, let me start there.
Okay.
Because I think it's I think it's pretty false to say like, oh, like take this multivitamin, like, or whatever it is, whatever compounds you have in there, and like you're gonna be smarter, like you're gonna be better, you're gonna outclass all your peers and everything you do.
Yeah.
Like I think that's just like it's bullshit, right? But in terms of like certain I guess like compounds, or like I'm also very interested in health. Like working out is a big thing with me, and like my background in sports, like I've always, like since high school, I would say is like where I really got into like I want to be like more physically healthy. It's like some things can help, but that's also in the absence of like, or not in the absence of, considering you're living your life in an already optimal way.
Mm-hmm.
These things like can work. Like like I'll share my personal experience. Like one thing I take for myself is lion's mane extract. That's kind of mainstream now, but like,
what does it do?
So I guess like the main idea behind it is it stimulates this nerve growth factors, NGF1 I think it is, and just helps with the formation of new neurons. Like doesn't like accelerate it like crazy or anything, but just like kind of gives like a little boost. Like it's actually backed like with the research. Is one of the reasons I take it is because it'll show like improvements in memory, for example, which is something that I value, especially with like there's a history of Alzheimer's in my family. So I'm trying to kind of protect my brain, I would say, like take these preventative steps. But you also have to consider like, are you healthy anyway? Like honestly, that's one thing that bothers me. Like sometimes like I'll smoke or drink or whatever, and like I feel guilty about it the next day because I'm like, yeah, this isn't like how I want to be living my life, and it's not what I want for myself. But yeah, in general, like I would say there are things that do work, and I guess it's important to do your own research first of all, right? But I wouldn't say things are like completely bullshit, but in the way that they're marketed, and also in the way that people just take these things, and also we don't know like adverse effects about certain things. There's also like you have to consider dosage. There's so many things that you have to consider for whether something is going to be like a net positive for you in terms of like mental health, like neural health, right? But I think it's crazy to say like, oh, take this thing regardless of what you're doing, and like you'll see improvements. And like I don't even know what these supplements claim they can do, but I think there are, like for the most part, there are like things that are studied that you can like do for your health that are, I would say, like beneficial. But these are small things like improving like alertness. Like overall, if I had any like advice to give, I'd say like save your money, invest in a good diet, work out, and sleep. And there you go. If you're hitting those three things, your life will be like way better than anyone that's not doing those things, but they're saying like, oh, I'm taking like X multi-supplement from yada yada pseudoscientists. Like it doesn't matter, you know?
No, I hear you. I completely hear you. Yeah. One thing that I just want to build off of that is that, and this is not an argument for the nootropics. This is something that I use though, and it's the placebo effect. I think a lot of it could be placebo effect that's coming from these nootropics, but you don't need supplements to work the placebo effect. I weaponize the placebo effect all the time. And I think this is a problem that when I talk to scientists, when I talk to people in especially life science, about certain limitations and capacities that they claim the mind or the body might have. Mm-hmm. I think that the placebo effect could dominate 90% of them. I think at the end of the day, if you are under the belief that the mind can do something, even though it's not scientifically proven, just that factor alone, I'm not trying to sound like a motivational speaker about believe in yourself and all this shit, but this is purely science. I think that the placebo effect actually is one of the most powerful neurological effects. I don't know you have studied much on that, but I think that's a relevant thing to talk about, to bring up.
Yeah, that's one thing that I look at. Like, so in the BPMH minor that I'm taking, I'm learning about a lot of the research in the forefront of that field is like meditation research, and learning like, does this actually impact the brain? Like, what changes do we see? And I guess like in that field, there's a lot of concern about like placebo and like maybe we'll stretching, just do the same thing. We'll like this, do the same thing. But I wouldn't say like placebo is dominant, but I do think it's like, it's maybe a bit more prevalent than people would like to think. Like, I would say it's like, honestly, just that simple factor of like telling yourself like you can do this. Like before a test, like I guarantee most people will do a lot better if they just have like blind faith. Like you see a lot of people like cramming before a test, but like honestly, if you don't know something before a test, like bar like, I don't know, in the last like 2-3 hours, like you really won't learn anything. And like in that time, if you just spend your time relaxing and like building up your confidence, like, yeah, I'm gonna rock this, like it is what it is, you'd probably do like way better. I'm not sure if there's like research on that. Like I'm not familiar with any literature in that field, but I definitely do think you're kind of spot on there in terms of how prevalent the placebo effect is.
Fair enough. There you go. Appreciate it. Heard it here first from the neuroscientist himself. Something else I wanted to get your opinion on.
Yeah.
Fake drugs. Okay. Caffeine, nicotine. People say they're drugs. I don't know if you think they're drugs or not. Like, what is it? Scientifically, they're drugs, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
do you? I saw that you know a lot about local coffee places or cafes. Is this true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit true. It's like definitely one of my things I like to do in my off time is just like go look for nice cafes. Just like something I find relaxing for studying, just brings me peace and just it's a good time. But in terms of like my caffeine habits, I would say I used to be really bad in high school. Like I used to like pound Monster Energy and drink all these energy drinks, especially before the gym. Like I'd have like probably anywhere from like 500 to 600 milligrams of caffeine in a day. Yeah. And like I honestly didn't realize how it affected me, but now looking back, like I kind of think like, yeah, maybe like messed me up a little bit. I think you tolerate it better when you're younger. So I think people tend to care less. But I think, I don't know, like everything, like these things in moderation. Like I can't say I'm super familiar with literature on caffeine, but like general habit wise, I would say like limit your intake, and like especially if you don't want to disrupt sleep, because the most, I think, important facet of sleep is having a consistent sleep schedule. Like when you go to bed and wake up, and even if you go to bed like later than you want to, wake up at a similar time. Yep. So you have like kind of this consistent cycle going on. And if you're just like loading too much on caffeine, like it'll disrupt it. Like I didn't realize it. Like even in my first year, before I was really like starting to get more informed on neuroscience and like things like sleep and general health, I used to have just like black coffee at like 1 a.m. Like I think I was studying, like doing something, and like most people don't even know like how coffee works. Like this is something I learned like relatively recently. Is just like it's not something that really wakes you up. It's just the biological mechanism behind it is I won't get like too deep.
No, I actually want to learn the science.
Okay, so
because not a lot of people can give the explanation. That's the thing.
So essentially, I want to say it's adenosine that you're building throughout the day from like breakdown. I'm sure some people have heard of ATP. Like you're breaking it down throughout the day, and it's gonna, like layman's terms, like it's gonna make you tired, right? And coffee is essentially an adenosine blocker, where it'll block these receptors, and for like a certain amount of time, I don't know what exactly like the half-life of it is, but depending on the dosage, it's gonna block these receptors for a certain amount of time, and then but like adenosine is still building up, right? So you're kind of getting this buildup of these molecules that are, I don't know, it's oversimplification, but you're getting sleepier over time, right? Yeah. And once the effect of coffee wears off, like you're still having this adenosine that's built up, and you're still just going to be sleepy. So like having a Red Bull or whatever at 12 a.m., like you're not doing anything except messing up your sleep schedule. Like you're really not going to be, like it doesn't necessarily make you more sharpened or more able to retain information. And also, like another big thing is like if you're cramming for a test, like my number one advice is like, and I don't know, people around me probably aren't gonna like this, but like don't do all-nighters. Yeah. Just sleep. Yeah. Just sleep, to be honest. If you can get like 5-6 hours of sleep, like you'll be in a way better position to retain information. I don't, maybe some people are different.
No, I think that's true. I think it's true. I think that in the case of if you have a very hardcore procrastinator and who knows literally nothing about the test, you might be better off pulling the all-nighter.
Yeah.
But for any student who is like decently on top of their study habits, obviously I think sleep comes first. It's literally if you're gonna fail, if you like just haven't studied the chapters, I think that's what problem with a lot of these people pulling all-nighters is that it's the procrastination.
Yeah, and then so I guess like moving on to like nicotine is a pretty big thing. I don't know. I would say like even like my habits around it, like growing up, like first time I ever smoked, like I was like, oh, like whatever. I was kind of like indifferent about it, but then you don't realize like how powerful it is until you try to stop smoking. And I won't call anyone out, but like I know like even myself, like trying to stop smoking and then like even succeeding with this thing it's tough. And then there's also like just like my friends around me, like I see how it like impacts them as well, like whether we want it to or not. And also there's like a big prevalence with, I'm sure you know what Zins are.
Yeah.
Like the little nicotine pouches.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to say I don't get the point of those, but I feel like it's just like you're shifting the form of your addiction. And it's just like it doesn't, like I guess it helps people to stop smoking, right? But I see a lot of like
But what does it do neurologically? Sorry to cut you off.
I can't even say I'm like well versed on that. I know there's like I know about like nicotinic acetylcholine receptors, and I guess like the overall idea behind nicotine, like there's also like oral nicotine that you can take that's not like the pouches that has been shown to like help with like focus, for example.
Yeah.
But like I don't know what the trade-offs, like cost or benefit ratio is probably not there in terms of like is it really gonna like help you in the long run, because I think it also makes you more prone to like wanting to smoke and just like doing all these other things that are just gonna like mess you up in the long run. But I think it's a super tricky subject, but like the one thing I would say is like don't like demonize people for trying to quit smoking, and then like if people like fail at things, like especially if it's your friends, like try to be supportive, because it's very tough. And like I know a lot of people are trying, and it's not always like realistic, right? So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. This is definitely going to be turned into a clip, but what are the top 3 cafes in the city? Toronto.
Oh man, fucking hell. I want to say I like Ace Hotel Cafe.
Okay.
Over by, it's like King and Adelaide on Spadina. That's a good like study spot, like more like upscale. Moonbeam in Kensington, that's just like one of the first places I went to, and kind of holds like a special place in my heart. It's like right by my house. And third one, where can I say? I'll say Carbonic Coffee. That's also like pretty close to me. It's a nice spot for sure. And then should I give a little bonus Boxcar Social, I would say.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll have to look those up, but
yeah.
We'll see.
And there's many more. Like my tip for anyone, like just explore the city, walk around, especially if you're here in the summer. Like you'll find so much stuff that like you didn't know about, and I think you'll see the charm of the city. So it's beautiful. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
Everybody, that is Nic Viulet. Thought it'd be funny. I put violet as the color behind you. I don't know if you noticed that this whole time, but yeah, it was a good conversation. Once again, appreciate you coming on. Good luck with finals. How many finals you got?
Just two. A lot of writing to do, but yeah, we're almost done, and almost done with third year. Moving on to the last year, and just it is what it is.
It's crazy. Are you looking forward to graduating? Are you one of these people who's scared to graduate, or are you just like can't wait to finish?
No,
up?
I'm just kind of wondering like what's next for me, but we'll see. Maybe a master's. Definitely want to. I think I've solidified this year too, like that I want to go to med school. That's like 100% for me. But just looking like, will I do a master's? Will I work a little bit before that? That's just like something that's in the works for me. But yeah, it's good. I'm just definitely enjoying my time here and just like all the people I've been able to meet, and super appreciative to be here. So
wish you the best of luck.
Yeah, 100%. And shout out to Baldwin.
To who?
That's Baldwin. That's the street of my house.
Okay.
104.
I should ask you for any final thoughts, actually, if you'd like to share. I ask every guest for final thoughts.
I guess
if you have a message.
So this is something that's important to me. I mentioned earlier I'm in the BPMH program, and U of T is looking to close it possibly. So just want to get the message out there to like send support for the program. Come out to events that are hosted by the student union, and also PATH is another organization. There's great people in this program, and it's one of the only ones in the world. And I think should be a pride point for U of T to have this interdisciplinary program, and something that brings together so many people and focuses on mental health as well, especially with like rising rates of depression, anxiety that are like super prevalent at this school and others. And yeah, just, I don't know, be a positive agent in the world and keep making friends, keep doing your thing, and stay humble, I guess. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is Nic Viulet. Like the interview, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next Sunday. Peace out.